Vibe to the music a little bit. What up, though? What up, though? What up, though? Welcome back to another episode of All Things Behind the Scenes. I'm your host, Nina Payne. Thank you for joining us. This show, I have to remind you, is about all things events. We talk about what happens before, during, and after the event. We talk about the dynamic professionals who manage the thousands of details to make sure these events happen. And then we also talk about how to navigate the business of doing events. Ins and outs and ups and downs. We talk about it all here. So I couldn't do the podcast without interviewing our guest for today. I'm super excited. When I started Foundation Management, the focus was artist management and special events. And one of the only women I knew that was winning in this space is our next guest. She's super dynamic. She's professional. She's one of the best to do it. She's an expert marketer. She's got a whole lot of skills. And I know you're going to learn a lot from her today. She's a current artist manager for the R&B artist Eric Benet. She's also the artist manager for the winner of The Voice, Cam Anthony, and she's the former artist manager for the Artist KEM. Please enjoy our conversation with project manager, event producer, artist manager, and now healer, Miss Toya Hankins. Toya.
Hey, Nina Payne.
Hey, Toya Hankins. I just remember, too, that I would call you T all the time, and I made myself call you Toya Hankins today.
I think I do the same thing. I'm always calling you Neen, right? So.
It's just natural. We'd be in these big meetings, and I'd be like, so T, such and such. And I'd be like, oh, man, first should have called her T. It just kind of stuck after a while. So how you doing?
I'm great. How about you?
I'm good. You look amazing.
Thank you. You too. I'm so excited about this program that you have going. This is amazing.
Thank you. Pushing the boundaries. We talked about in our pre-meeting about doing things different and different experiences. And I think those of us who just head down and work, we just do it and we enjoy what we do. And so I get questions a lot with people asking about, all different sorts of things about how to run a business, how to start a business, how to keep it going, how to maintain, how do you keep, how do you hire people? There's so much to it. And so I'm thinking, let's just do a podcast and let's talk about the things that I know, events and entertainment, events and entrepreneurship. And so I'm excited to have you. For those who don't know, Miss Toya, she is a mogul. And so I wanted to just start to talking about what you're doing and just give I gave a brief kind of all of the things that you do. But if you can just kind of tell people like what you're doing now, what you're into.
Okay. Well, I'm still doing artist management, which I've been doing now for nearly 30 years. And I am doing project management. I just completed a couple of documentaries that I had the pleasure of helping to write and then also produce and direct. And also, manage the direction of some of the editing and so on with that. So that was exciting and a dream come true, something I've always wanted to do. And, so a little bit of this and that. I also have found a real love. I've always had a great love for health and wellness and well-being. So I got certified in a number of different modalities that allow me to work with clients and, helping to realize optimal health and do this mind-body balance thing. And so those are the things I'm working on mostly right now. I'm working with an amazing artist who won The Voice. Season 2. A gentleman by the name of Cam Anthony, and he's signed to Republic Records. He was on Team Blake, and he won the grand prize for season 20. And it's been exciting working with him, just watching him evolve and grow. We started working with him when he was 13, and now he is 21.
A man.
Yes.
I saw him. I was like, because the last time you see something, that's the last memory you have. And so when I saw him in person, I was thinking, this 13. No, he's a grown ass man.
Yes.
And so how was that experience of like working with an artist and then having them like be international TV, phenom? Like, what was that like?
You know what? Really, really exciting on so many levels because we were working with Cam like very closely in on the development side of things when he was very young, when we were working together.
Hmm.
And it was like he just took a turn, he came into his own, and all of a sudden it was just like everything, it was like the flower blossomed, you know what I mean? It bloomed rather. And it's just been incredible to watch him grow and watch him, evolve and come into his, creative voice and his pen, and taking control in the studio, and God leading the band and all of these things. And yeah, because do you remember we were on on the holiday tour, I think in
Hmm.
2013, way back,
Okay.
14, when he opened up for the tour that we were doing together.
Hmm.
And it was the first time he was on a big stage. So, when the sound came back at him from the monitors, it was like, woo. And now he's totally running the show from the stage, and it's just
That's what's
beautiful.
up. That's
It's
what's up.
beautiful.
That's the type of impact I'm talking about that you make. Let me back up a little bit and give our listeners kind of a uh, more information about how we know each other. And so, like I said, I started the company in 2000, and I started working with artists right away, special events, and being an artist manager. I thought I wanted to be the best artist manager in the world, or have an artist management company with a gazillion artist managers or something like that at that time. And so the artists that I work with, I was able to, get them some pretty amazing gigs and tours without even a record. And so that kind of gained the attention of how we met, which is on Tom Joyner. And on the Tom
Actually, you know
Joyner,
what? I think we met before Tom Joyner.
did we met before Tom Joyner? Oh, let's go back.
Yeah.
Let's go back. So right, so I was booking these couple of acts, and I remember, and I can't remember how I got them, but there was a gentleman by the name of Will Burnett, and he was the person who hired my acts for the African World Festival. I
Mhm.
think it was in the parking lot at the museum, though. And so we got to know each other, and he would continue to hire them. And then one of my friends from church, Andrea Ashford, may she rest in heaven,
Mhm.
said, asked me something about what I was doing, and I had no idea what the whole conversation was about. But she invited me to your premiere or something, right?
I think it was our first gold album party. Yeah.
At Seldom Blues. Was it
No,
Seldom
it
Blues?
was at Ford Field.
Oh, Fort Field. Yeah, it was. What was that? What was that thing that we went to? I'm sorry, we just chit chat. The thing at the Seldom Blues location.
That might have been a listening party,
Okay.
actually.
Okay.
Yeah. Hmm.
But you're right. It was a go party at Ford Field.
Yeah.
All the same. But anyway, and so I knew about Toya for a while because guess what? I was trying to be an artist manager. So who do I look to? And I'm a woman. I'm a black woman, and I wanted to model myself after someone who was successful in doing so. And she was the only one that anybody was talking about. And so I knew who you were, and I was watching. It was like pre-internet right around that time, so it
Mhm.
wasn't a whole lot, but just watching kind of the movements and things and looking things up and asking questions and all that type of stuff. And just so happened all of this stuff was happening at the same time, and we met for interview on the Time Joiner cruise.
I
Right? Do I
think
have my
that
facts right
was
now?
right. Yep.
Girl,
Mhm.
age. Um, and so I was on the boat with another artist, and Toya asked me if I would like to work with them and be a road manager. And I was like, yeah. And can I still do what I'm doing? I think that was the question. And she was like, I'll encourage it. And I was like, what? And she was like, yes. And I was like, it was just like I don't know, it was a good match. And I knew that I had taken things, to, as far as I could take them, to a certain extent. I was, unless they had produced, my artists needed to produce a record in order for me to go any further. But we were doing really good. But I know when I got with you, I mean, I learned so much. I had done tours, but I had band-aided those tours together and we stayed in people's houses and we were doing all kind of crazy things to move from date to date. But and borrowed
No
money.
easy feat. I mean, that's hard work too.
Is
You know what I mean?
and I didn't know how hard it was, but I just, you do what you do. I'm trying to figure it out. But when I got with you and I learned kind of, how to professionally put a tour together, I learned how to develop, road management. We did a process and procedures manual together. We did, all kind of operational things together. And you gave me an opportunity to kind of spread my wings and stretch. And like some of the things that I learned while we were working together, I still do in my company today. From the project plans that you would put together for the team of project producers at that time, and all of our names and all the things that we were responsible for. I still use those type of methods now in my organizing. So I say all of that to say that I learned so much about entertainment and all the stuff that I was going to do because of Toya Hankins. And so if you have an opportunity, make sure you look her up because she is a beast in entertainment. And what people don't really realize, all the work that has to take place in order to present an artist is just, you don't even understand. You don't even have the mindset to understand how much work it takes to develop an artist. And so at any cost, I want everybody to think about management when you're dealing with an artist and that artist is presenting. Yes, that artist has some talent and creative and all of those types of things, but that is not enough. And you need somebody in your corner to be able to take you to the next levels. And Toya is just great at it. Check her track record, Google her, just do that. So I just want to give some reference to how I know you and give you
Well,
your
thank
flowers,
you, Nina.
things that
I
you
appreciate
taught.
all of that. I
Is
really do.
you the brains behind all the operations, and we're not going to get into what that is, but Google her, just Google her, Google her. That's all I got to say about that. So okay, so let's talk about entrepreneurship in general. Um, Talk about your transition from full time to like being an entrepreneur full time.
Okay. Well, it takes some planning, I think, to do it the right way. I got some great advice. I was ready. Once we got the record deal, I was working a full-time job, working 80 hours a week. And we got a record deal, and I was like, I'm out of here. And someone told me, ask me a question. If this thing isn't going 9 months or 12 months down the line, are you prepared? And I said, yeah, I know how to hustle and get, keep things going, whatever. And this person said, unless you have 3 years worth of revenue, income in the bank, you're not ready, and you don't hustle enough. So I really took a pause around that and took it very seriously. And because now I was working these two jobs and had my full-time job and the revenue coming in from working on the music side, I just banked one check. And my goal was to have 3 years worth of revenue so that I could support the team, the payroll, be able to move around how I needed to move around, be able to take care of the bills, take care of my family, and do the whole nine before I stepped out. And that's what I did.
I don't think I knew that. So you saved 3 years of salary or at a certain
3 years
number.
worth of salaries. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's awesome advice. I know everybody's different, right? And what you do. And in my transition, it was about the same months, but I did about a year. I don't think I had 3 years of. I was ready to get the hell out of there. So when I jumped ship, it was like this has to work. There is no plan B. But what was different is I was able to go full time. I'm giving 70 hours, 80 hours a week to this corporate job, and now I can give that type of time to my business. And so, which is exactly what happened. So you give up. Did you find that because you were
And
already
let me clarify. I didn't say for 3 years. I came up with a number that I was comfortable with that would
okay?
cover me for 3 years.
That's different.
And
Got you. Got
stacked
you.
and
Got you.
stacked, until I reached the threshold that I was my goal, and
Yeah.
then I was
But you
comfortable.
were working. You were working. So when you started artist management or project producers, and you were working full time, how long was that doing both?
Well, I mean, I worked for two companies in the time, from the point that we started putting together the first artist and preparing for release. And so I would say that I was working two jobs easily 10 years
Oh my
before that,
gosh.
everything actually happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, we were hustling and trying to make it happen. But it was over the span of about 10 years ultimately.
And I think people need to hear that, right? Because there's this kind of trending thing that's happening online where everybody wants to be an entrepreneur and,
Mhm.
boss bitch or
Overnight
whatever the
success.
things are.
Right.
Like, and it's
Mhm.
trendy and fun, and like you can take great Instagram pictures, and and I do this as something, but tell people like the reality that you see in being an entrepreneur, and it's ups and downs. Like, give me just a general idea of how you see being an entrepreneur.
Well, first of all, just sort of going back to, I appreciate everything that all the amazing things you said earlier, but I am 100%, I can say with no uncertain terms that it requires you to have a good team to be able to accomplish, the things that we've accomplished. And I think that I just really I feel grateful right now that we had an amazing team that was assembled, that had the same degree of passion toward the goals, and who were committed and loyal, and we had each other's back like so hard. We could depend on each other.
Yeah.
That that definitely was key. A key part of the formula for any success that I have realized. And so I think it's important that when you step out and you get into this entrepreneur thing, that you have a plan. You
Mhm.
understand what it is that you need, where you're trying to go. And then don't be afraid to share the dollar. I think sometimes people, want to keep all the money, and I don't think you can. I think you can keep all the money, but I think that you can do more, and you can your base will be a lot wider if you're
Mhm.
willing to, share the dollar with people who are professionals that know what they're doing. Allow experts to, do what they do,
Yeah.
and and you'll yield great results. I mean, and you still will experience some ups and downs. We experienced ups and downs, because as an entrepreneur, you don't get a regular every 2 week paycheck. And
No, you.
necessarily, you know what I mean? So like the checks come in different waves, and sometimes they're smaller than other times, and you got to be able to manage that payroll regardless if it's a big check or a little check. So having a plan is essential. Being able to manage your books properly is important. And so I think that if you have those things in place, then it makes the harder times easier.
Now, say that, because yeah, the harder times easier. It's not.
Mhm.
I always tell people it's not pour and stir. And it's not for the faint of heart. The hustle is real, and
Mhm.
especially when you're responsible for a team, right? Your name is on the product, if you will, and so you gotta, if you're gonna be successful, right? You have to be willing to do all the things that it takes to do so, because they're depending on you. You're depending
That's
on
right.
you.
Mhm.
And so Dejanay asked if you would move over to the middle. So
We're
one
gonna
thing
keep
you can
the
find here are all things behind the
keep the
scenes, and we're just going to
switching.
be
Hold on. All right, there we go. How about, is that better?
transparent about all the things that we're doing behind the scenes and all the things that it takes to put all this stuff together. And um, so I was just taking notes because that's just another thing, in the things that you were sharing. Have a plan, invest in your stakeholders, those who are experts in what they do. I think
Mhm.
that was great. Having a great team, which is difficult to develop, but once you have it, it's a
That's
sweet
right.
spot, man. It is just awesome.
Mhm.
Having people to manage your books, the finances is just one of those things. And I think in all things, be willing to learn. Too. Yeah, that's why I'm taking my notes. Yes, I've been in business for 20 years. It's just a reminder of the things that we have to continually do, renewing our mind with the things that are going to make us better. And
Mhm.
so always have your notepad out and take your
That's
book,
right.
take your notes, because you can never know. You never know too much. Nobody knows everything, is what I was trying to say.
And on that note, I think it's very important to admit if you don't know.
Mm,
I think we got through a lot of things, and were afforded a lot of opportunities and earned a lot of respect out of just saying, you know what, I've never done that before. What does that look like? Help me out.
right.
Guide the path for me, but I'll catch up. Don't worry.
Yeah. Yeah.
And being, so many times I think people show up and feel like they have to have all the answers and that they have to, be the expert out the gate. And you don't have to do that to be successful.
Mm,
You'll be more successful if if you have a little bit more humility and honesty, and being willing to learn. People want to pour into you
mm,
all the time. I think, starting out in the music business, that was something that I really appreciated. And it was something that I felt was important going into it, that at every turn to be able to say, hey, I don't know what that is. Help me
yeah.
out, or
Yeah.
tell me more about it. And people were willing to give the information and help out. So
Yeah. I
there's
love
no wrong in that. I think, there's all that ego and all of that is not necessary.
it. But it's interesting because even when I go back to like social media and being a boss and being an expert and all the things, and oftentimes that's how they show up online, but that's not the reality of what's what's happening behind the scenes, because people have told them, if you're not those things, if you don't know all the things, then you can't be in that, you can't work in that field. And so again, like, nobody knows everything. We always have to be willing to learn, always. There's just so much stuff out here to know, you know constantly. And speaking of that, like, so in entrepreneurship in general, can you talk about a time where things didn't go as you thought they would, and just how you kind of pivoted out of tragedy?
Okay.
Yeah, let's
Well,
get into it.
I wonder if you know this one, Nina.
Uh-oh.
It was Will and I were on the road together, and
Mm-hmm.
it was for a New Year's Eve run when we were opening for two really very large artists, and it was the promoter didn't know the artist we were working with,
Mm.
and so the promoter was questioning our artist's weight and how much we were getting paid. We're at the venue, we're at sound check, and this is the conversation.
Wait. The promoter who hired you?
The promoter who hired us because the two headliners suggested us.
Okay. And
Okay,
then was questioning the amount of pay
that's right,
that the artist
exactly.
should be getting.
So,
Okay.
you know, I told him, hang around when the doors open. If there are butts in seats, and that's going to tell you exactly how
Mhm.
much value the artist has, and that he's carrying his own weight. So, hey, stand, watch the seats when the doors open.
Right.
Well, that was that sound check. We typically get paid at sound check, right?
Yes, we do.
So money didn't show up. Day goes on. Everybody's getting ready to band. Everybody's, waiting to go on stage, waiting for the show to start. The promoter comes in to the production office, and I was sitting down, and the promoter walked up in front of me, and I was asking about the money and began to, question the fee and try to suggest that they would pay us less than what we had agreed to. We had a contract.
Janky promoters.
And the promoter unbuckled his belt, unbuttoned his pants, reached his hand down in his pants, and began to jostle things.
Mm, mm.
So what do you do? This is
What
one
do
of
you
those
do? What
situations
do
that's
you do?
like,
Tell me what was going on in your head, and then talk about what you did. Like, what
well,
is your reaction while you're watching this?
I'm thinking to myself, literally, I honestly, I was thinking, I can't let this go by. Like, I can't just accept this because it'll set the tone for, who I am as a professional. This is a man trying to challenge me as a woman, and it was interesting too, because people would always ask, what kind of challenges do you come up against as a woman in music business? And I never really had like the kind of challenges people were looking for me to say, you know what I
Mhm,
mean? Like,
mhm.
the stuff that you read about and hear about, I hadn't come up against any of that. And so this was unique. And so I had to, my Dexter Avenue, Toya had to come out a little bit, and I'll say I've learned from a lot of women in the business also. Somebody I think about right now is like Shahida Mausi at Shane Park or the Aretha. She always carries herself in a way that is
Mhm.
so confident and together. And I've always admired that.
Yeah.
But listen, I know she got a 22 in her girdle. Okay. You know what I'm saying? Just ready, do something wrong. Okay.
Got
So,
to.
so in that moment, like I had to, I stood up and I walked closer to him. My nose was nearly touching his, and
Mm.
the loudest roar I could muster, I told him, "Don't ever disrespect me like that again, and get my money, or we're not performing." And I walked out the door. When I stood up, Will came and walked next to me, like, again, my team member had my back, but allowed me to hold my position in
Yeah.
that moment,
Yeah.
respected that I needed to handle that. And so I walked out, slammed the door, and all the band members stuck their heads out the door because they could
I can
hear
see.
everything that was going on. And they were like, "So what are we doing?" I was like, "We're holding." And sure enough, they came back about, we had our money in about 25 minutes and we took the stage.
And what was that all about? Talk about like why you think he positioned himself to do that.
You know what? I think that he was a rookie. He wasn't a seasoned promoter. And I think that he thought that he could, intimidate me
Hmm.
into agreeing to lower the fee.
Yeah.
And that wasn't acceptable. I mean, I have people that I have to answer to, there are bills that have to be paid. And, you know, hey, and that wasn't the first time that happened. I mean, that's happened a few times. I could think
Yeah.
of a few. And you just have to do what you have to do. You have to hold down the fort. You got to be responsible. You take on this responsibility.
Yeah.
You got to be willing to step in it. People didn't ever really see that side so much ever. I like to have a good time. Like let's have a ball. I love everybody,
Right.
but you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah. I mean, I do remember a little bit about that story, and even when we worked together, there were a couple incidents that I had with promoters as well, right? Not that, but definitely propositioning, and you have to make a decision that, you know, let's go. Is this what we're doing? Or you're telling me how we're going to have to interact? Let's go. Let's go. I'm ready. And so, like, I either had to do that, or I might have to, like, you know, code switch is what they call it. Whatever needed to be done to get the artist on stage on
That's
time and get our money, that's what we were going to have to do. And it
right.
took a lot. Like, I had to figure out what kind of person I'm dealing with. If I'm dealing with someone that's a different race, who thinks that I shouldn't be in charge or anything like that, I had to deal with
Mhm.
that. Old union guys with the gray hair, muffling
That's right.
around,
That's
dealing
right.
with that thing constantly in these different cities and theaters. And
Mhm.
you have to make a decision to stand up for yourself. And I think, that also pushes your confidence when you make that decision to stand in that spot at that time to do what's right for that is right. Man, it does something for your confidence because you knew you had to do it. Where
Yeah.
does that come from? Like, how do you know to do that?
I think it's instinctive to an extent. Again, when we take on this responsibility, it's like with your children or your family. You know what I mean? It's like you're not going to let anything compromise your child or your family. And
Yeah.
when we're on the road, you have to take it seriously like that. Like this is your family that you're protecting, and that I think those, even though I'm not a mom, those kind of instincts sort of kick in. I think it's like you got people you have to answer to and that you're taking care of. So it just kicks in. I believe it's one of those things. You hear about those moms that push a refrigerator out
Oh,
the
yeah,
way,
yeah,
whatever. I think it comes from that same kind of space of, you know, it just kicks in.
yeah.
What's needed kicks in at the time.
I wonder though, at that moment, was there a hint of doubt or running or feeling small, or you know what I mean, like those feelings that you go through at given points at given times? Where you did you experience those types of feelings?
I think it usually, like, because this wasn't the only time this happened.
Yeah.
Like it's happened a few times. So I think that thing kicks in after the fact, and it's like,
Mm.
did I handle that the right way? Should I
Yeah,
have done something different? How could I have avoided that? Was my response accurate? Did I assess that the right way?
yeah,
So evaluating after the fact, I think, is healthy.
yeah,
And but I think that's when, if there's any doubt, that's when it comes in. But I don't have any regrets about any of that. I think that you have to you earn your respect. Um, and I was only challenged like that a few times out of 20, however many years, you know
right,
what I mean? So,
right. But I think too, word gets around. So, one promoter talks to another promoter that talks to another promoter, and they know not to mess with you. Like, that's not,
Mhm.
you better have her money when she, that's the thing. Get that
I,
money because she'll pull the show, or whatever the reputation is. It's respect, you know, because you didn't back down.
yeah. And you never want the artist to feel stressed at all before going on the stage. So
Right.
evaluating that situation, I think that probably was my greatest regret, that everyone heard it.
Mm,
And but I think, given what was happening, that it was also necessary, you
yes,
know.
I agree.
So
And sometimes they all need to hear it,
yeah.
because I think, as professional as you are, in situations, sometimes the band and the team and everybody need to see you do that thing. I think it just kind of reminds all of us, what you putting up with for us,
Mhm.
for the artists, for the team. You know what I mean? I think, I think it's okay. I think I try to protect my team a lot. And
Mhm.
so this year, and Dejanay, the producer, can probably attest, um, I have been more transparent, right? And letting people kind of see how I get to an end result, or how, I have to, like, all money's not good money. Nope, we're not taking that gig. And here's why. And, kind of just being more transparent. It's difficult for me because I'm not generally I'm transparent about a lot of things, but like my business and how I do it has just been
Mhm.
something I've done on my own for so long that I have never really opened up. And so it's been difficult, but it's been great. And I think the team appreciates just the transparency of it,
Yeah.
and kind of showing what's going on. Okay, so let's switch subjects. Let's get into some events because that's what we're doing. Talk about business, talk about events. Let's talk about your favorite event that you've done and produced, and then some difficulties in things that happen behind the scenes that people may not have know about. Well, do you have a favorite event that you've produced?
Favorite. Hmm.
Favorite is an interesting term, right? It could be the most interesting, most memorable, maybe not favorite, but just something that sticks out.
I would say coordinating the African World Festival was one of the most fulfilling events that I've coordinated.
And why do you say that?
Ah, but you know what? Yes, it
What do
definitely
you
is
mean by
up there.
fulfilling?
Top three for sure.
Top three?
For sure. Hands
Okay.
down.
Why?
Hands down. Because of the cultural aspect of it, meeting so many people and learning so much about, the history, life, and culture of, you know, Africa and the diaspora, and the entertainment and the people and all that. I love that.
Okay.
I loved booking that show. Loved it. I loved working with the vendors because they came from all walks of life also.
Mhm,
You
mhm.
know, 250 vendors from all over the world selling all kinds of goods, and And then honoring them in a way to make sure that their goods were showcased and that we didn't have a bunch of knockoffs. And, so taking that stuff seriously because they're entrepreneurs and making sure that, we are pouring into their business because they helped increase the value of what it was that we were doing. So
All right.
just honoring that, working with so many volunteers to accomplish a goal,
Mm.
that just to me, things like that is just so satisfying. And then being able to know how that I slept under my desk most nights leading up to that point. And it was like, I had short hair then too, and I was pulling it out back then. But then for it to come to life and you see a million people hit that plaza through the weekend and, people are partying, having a good time, all walks of life, all races and, different cultures come together, all in the name of, something from the African diaspora.
Mm.
That's fulfilling for me.
Well, I
That's
know that
fulfilling.
I've attended the African World Festival many years, and so what an amazing event! It still is an
Yeah,
amazing event. So,
yeah.
so what are some things or challenges other than sleeping under your desk every night before the event? Because
Yeah.
those,
Usually
how long is it? A weekend, right?
it's a weekend, but I mean, it's definitely a 12-month planning thing that you plan. And, and the last 3 months going into it just zooms by 3 or 4 months, just crazy, in the blink of an eye. So, lots of challenges, with nonprofits, you got to raise the money. You have to,
Mm.
especially when you're, unfortunately, historically, at least when I was doing it, the African American nonprofits didn't get the same money that some of the other nonprofits got. So
Yeah.
we were always challenged to make the dollar stretch. So I think that probably was it. If we had the money that we really needed to do that thing, it'd be a whole different tempo. I
Yeah.
think. I think, the stress would be very different. It wouldn't be the same kind of stress.
Hmm.
Um, so I say that, but I also have to say that I had that complete pleasure and I'm so grateful that I had a dream come true and being able to work in the operations center and really kind of serve as one of the quarterbacks, quote unquote, for Super Bowl 40 when it came to Detroit. So again, that was another, situation that, I mean, like I said, dream come true. I definitely at the very top of the list. But then also there's, the Mac and Third event that we would do in the park that was free for the public, to give people a reprieve from the stressors of the day. I love that. Remember that first year we did that
Do I?
event? Yeah, I think we planned. It was 75 days. I'll never forget. We walked out of the homeless shelter from doing an interview, and I turned to Kim and said, we should do a free concert for the public because this is when the economy was tanking and people were literally jumping off their balconies. And it
Yeah.
was like, let's do something to help this community. And 75 days later, I think we all were sleeping underneath the tables and desks
Baby.
leading
Yeah,
up
that
to
that was tough. Yeah.
75 days later.
It
We
was,
were hosting 26, 27,000 people in a park.
yeah, we had no idea what the turnout was going to be, right? We knew that people would show up, right? But we had no idea that we were gonna pack out and, you know, thousands and thousands of people in this park. Like it was just, and I remember walking up to you once everything was up and running, and I put my arm around you, and we were like, "We did this.
We did it,
We did
right.
it." And it's an emotional
Mhm.
moment because of all of the work that it
Yes.
takes in order for these people to enjoy this experience, right? It
Yeah.
was just like one of those like releasing. It wasn't over it, but we were just had a moment where you can be like, you know what?
Yeah.
We did this. This is phenomenal.
And I remember a point after it was all over, and with me and Will were in the park, and a gentleman from the homeless community walked up to us and said, "Oh, I've never had such a great time. Thank you so much." You remember that?
I do.
And he walked away like he was so just elated,
right?
That we did this for them.
Yeah, yeah.
And he walked away, and it was silence. Like we all just stood there for a moment. We had to take a moment
in the dark.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No. This was the next day when we were cleaning up.
Oh, clean up day.
Yeah. So we stood there for a minute and just like took it in, and it was all worth it. Just from that comment, this was all worth it.
And I think that's what people like, the work that it takes, that I keep talking about, that I'm stressing, in these interviews, but the reward is unparalleled. Like you can't match it. Like it's all worth it. All the sleepless nights, all the headaches, the stress, the arguing with all of the things to come to this moment where you have this experience that you can't have any other kind of way.
That's right.
You can't have it any other kind of way. And so I think that's why we do what we do. It's the project manager in you, right? Take a clean slate, build something amazing and creative, and you look at it and you say, yes.
That's it. That's it for me. That's it. That's happiness right there for me. I mean,
it is. I get a little goosebumps just thinking about it. Just like because I know that feeling of it being complete, or when you see it and you see somebody experiencing it, something that you had a chance to make or do or create, it is an amazing feeling.
One time the very first time we went to South Africa, I was standing inside the gate, like there was a barrier between the people and the stage. I was standing inside the gate videotaping. And we're way on the other side of the world and hearing everyone sing all the words.
Yeah.
And even doing the riffs, the musical riffs and all of that.
Right. And they didn't speak English.
It just brought me, I literally like got choked up in that moment to think, first of all, it was, we had, we were challenged with so challenges. We were challenged. I've been challenged every single time I've been to South Africa. Every single time. I love it there. I will go to Joburg, any day. But we have been challenged in South Africa.
We have been challenged, but beauty on the other side of that, right? One of the things I remember about South Africa is them. We had several comments about the confidence, like walking with your head held high, things that we take advantage of because this is what we do. But being a Black American in that land, like you just don't, you guys are so proud. It was kind of a thing where they were commenting and complimenting on this Black team coming, putting up all this event and being able to be proud about what we were doing without feeling less than the promoter or whoever else brought us in that wasn't the same color as us. Like it was a whole like really, really cool connection. And I hated the fact that in some cases they didn't feel as confident. Right. They didn't feel like they could walk around or do the things that they saw us doing. And so in some, indirect way that we had an impression on them just from a business perspective, from just running the venue like we did and the team of us working together, that was impressive to some of the folks based on the comments. That was huge for me.
Yeah. I mean, hands down. I mean, when we synced in, it was, I'm sorry. I don't know that there's
unbeatable
team out there. Beyonce, none of them, you know what I'm saying? Like
they don't have it like that.
No, when we clicked in, like we worked hard, we played hard, we did good work.
We did. Yeah. Okay, so what I guess one of the questions I want to ask about your legacy. So at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, what do you want people to say about Toya Hankins?
I don't think that was that on the, I don't think that was one of the you sent me.
It was not a free question. It's an organic moment.
I want people to say that Toya Hankins is a good person, that she's a good human, and that she really cares about other humans. And, you know, and that's it really. Like if I can make it out of here and, maintain that, people, find that, they can see kindness in me and in what it is that I bring to the table, I'm happy. That's it.
Yep, I didn't preface you with that question, but that was a really great answer. You must know yourself. Know that stuff is one of those things. Do you have any favorite quotes or books that you can share that you might be inspired by?
Oh my goodness.
I know.
I mean, so many. I'm like, I love books. I read all the time, and in fact, I was in a bad car accident. Do you remember I was in a car
I do.
accident?
Yeah.
And after the car accident, I really started my reading like kicked up so much. But I would say, you know what? I don't know. I have to send back a list.
Okay, no worries.
But, but anything that, will, I mean, there are people, I'm just trying to think of something I can grab really easily. Um, Wayne Dyer, I love his work. He gives life gives you a real good perspective on life. I really appreciate his work. Um, but then there are people like um How to Win Friends and Influence People, Think and Grow Rich. There's so many,
Yeah.
that are mostly centered in self-development, because at the end of the day, it's like, I feel like if you do you really well, then it'll spill over into everything else that you do. So, and then everyone else that you're around, and so my hope and goal and desire is that people can feel love when I walk in the room, and that I get it back from them, that we do this exchange. So, and I think that definitely is found core foundational piece to success, no matter what you're doing.
Agreed. Best version of yourself. What about next generation artist managers and event folks? Any advice for them?
Yep. Never burn a bridge.
Say that
Because
again for the people in
never,
the back.
never burn a bridge, people. You never know when you might have to come back across that bridge.
And
Never
that
burn a
happens.
bridge. Yeah, never
It
burn a
happens over and
bridge.
over again. That's good.
That being organized, key, teamwork, key. Being able to delegate and being able to be a team member, and not just, leadership starts at, on the being a part of the team.
Yeah.
So that's super important. And never feel like you know everything. You got to be willing to learn continuously and grow. Look at where we are now. I mean, it's a whole new world now. The
Yeah.
world is completely different. What if we were rigid? You got to be flexible and be willing to learn. And then my mom would always say, be like a willow tree. Your roots cling to the earth, and a willow tree can take the biggest storms and bend and all that, but it always snaps back. So gotta be flexible. Gotta be flexible.
I'm going to give you some snaps for that one. Those
That's for my
snaps.
mama.
How was mom?
Fantastic.
Yeah.
She's great. Sweet baby too. She's 103.
Sweet baby! 103 years love. Wow.
Yeah.
Please give her a hug from the Colemans.
Yeah,
Sweet
will
baby's
do.
103. That is awesome.
And I just cannot believe the grown woman that is working with you these days. That was just a little itty bitty.
She's actually listening right now. She's
Alex, slow down.
Protection assistance. And yeah, man, it's awesome to work with family and
And Deja.
See. Yeah, we're all
Coleman family, y'all are doing the thing. I love it.
Oh, yeah, doing
David. Love you, brother.
You probably texting me right now. Tell T, I said hi. So where can people find you? Social media, website. If they want to contact Toya Hankins, how do they do so?
Toya Hankins at gmail.com. I'm here
Okay.
for you.
She done gave y'all her email address now.
Yeah.
That don't mean blow her up on some stupid
Yeah,
stuff.
don't bring me up on. Yeah,
Just if you
but
have
I'm here
questions.
for you. I'm here for you.
Oh, and we didn't talk about real quick before we go your healing. So take a little bit about what you're doing in the spiritual space.
So it's always been a thing for me. I've always had a passion for health and wellness and well-being. And after my car accident, well, first of all, my mom had a brain aneurysm rupture about 25 years ago. So that kind of kicked my interest up a little bit more. And I was always pushing the natural stuff on you all. But then after my car accident, it kicked up a whole lot of levels because I needed it to help myself. And so I went and got certified in a number of healing modalities, and I take clients and stuff like that now, Nina.
And what am I coming to you for? Like,
I do reflexology, and I really am focused on mind body balance, because a lot of illness starts with our emotions, basically. And so I do that work. I do this. I have the system called voice harmonic balancing. So dig this, you'll appreciate this. Every organ has a note. Every system, every one of your meridians in your body has a corresponding frequency and sound note. So when you talk, it will tell if anything is out of balance. So I have a system that I use that you talk into, and it'll let me know which ones of your meridians are off balance. It'll give you back the notes you need, and it allows me to zero in on the work that's needed to be done to help balance things out. And the same thing is true for face diagnostic reading, which I do, where I'm able to kind of look at your face and tell you what's happening.
You did give me a face reading.
Yes, I have to give you a face reading. And so yeah, it's stuff like that. I do meditation. I do a lot of I do meditation training, and but
That's
really
awesome.
the mind body.
It's no surprise to me though, because we always called her Dr. Toya anyway, and she always said something for all of our ailments, whatever. And so it is no surprise that you've made this transition into this space that you're in. And so if people wanted to contact you about that, are they emailing you as well?
Yeah, why not? Keep it easy.
Keep it easy. All right. I know, Dejanay. So we have to go, but thank you so much for being willing to take some time out on your vacation. I see you are in Florida. I'm in Vegas.
Yes.
Bi-coastal, whatever you call it, and do different parts of the world talking on virtual. This is the technology that makes life best.
Yes.
It's awesome.
Well, thank you, Nina. I'm so proud of you and what you're doing with this show. I think it's going to be hugely successful. I can't wait to see who else is going to be on. I'll be tuned in. I'll spread the word.
I appreciate that, man. Just trying to grow and be the best version of myself, right? Like you talked about that. I have notes on. So that's what we're doing. All right. Well, thanks again. Appreciate you. Enjoy the rest of your vacay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you again for joining us for another episode of All Things Behind the Scenes podcast, where we discuss all things events and entrepreneurship. If you're watching us on YouTube, don't forget to follow, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to be notified of each new episode. You can also follow us on All Things BTS Podcast on Facebook and Instagram. We welcome all comments and suggestions. So let us know what you think. We love hearing from you. So until next time, remember that the only thing that you can guarantee about an event and life is that it will change. Be blessed.